What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Hopefully you had a good Labor Day. I actually had a pretty good time. Spent some time just kind of hanging around the house and got pretty much all of Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battles all done. I might do a review. I'm not sure. You guys will let me know if that's even still a thing now. I know that game's kind of, well, I guess it's past when reviews have come out. And I had to get it done pretty much because Destiny 2 has this weird Wednesday release tomorrow, but I'm pretty much cleared and ready to do some Destiny 2. But there was still some stuff that happened, surprisingly, on Labor Day. I know a lot of times here in the States, the world kind of stops for that day and not much happens. Trash doesn't get picked up and there's no mail. But things still happen, so let's get started. And the biggest story of the day yesterday had to do with an update on the Ubisoft Vivendi situation. Now, if you're out of the loop on this, it's pretty straightforward. Vivendi is attempting a hostile takeover by pretty much buying shares, buying voting power over time as they really put more and more money in and then really getting more and more control of Ubisoft as, say, investors. And it's something that Ubisoft has been trying to fight off for a while now. This isn't new for Vivendi. They bought into Activision, attempted all of that, controlled it. Activision ended up buying themselves basically back out of that. And all of a sudden the stock took off after Vivendi got kicked out of there. Vivendi's not the best when it comes to running game companies, and they seem to want to keep buying into them for some reason. I don't really know what the deal is there. Anyway, the founding family, the Guillermo brothers, decided, well, the best way to get control of Ubisoft further and stop Vivendi, and at least giving them a hard time, is by buying more shares so they can have more voting rights. And we found this out in a press release that was released yesterday saying, Ubisoft has been informed that Guillermo Brothers SE and a bank have entered today into an agreement related to the purchase by Guillermo Brothers SE of a maximum number of just over 2 million shares of Ubisoft, representing 1.75% of the share capital of Ubisoft. Now, apparently those 2 million shares of Ubisoft that they have now purchased amounted to roughly $200 million invested, so that adds another 1.75% to their ownership, which will help them because they're just taking shares away that Vivendi could try to get. At some point, Vivendi would get to really an amount that they've owned that they can then offer a bid to Ubisoft really to help them exit cleanly. If that's the case, I guess gracefully, if you will. But I have a feeling Ubisoft will not want to, and they will fight them tooth and nail until, well, Vivendi would, I guess, own enough to pretty much own the whole company and have all the voting rights. But here's the thing. Vivendi doesn't like to sit around on this kind of stuff for very long from what we've seen. They've even said that if this really gets that difficult and they don't want to keep fighting it, they'll move on to a company that'll really put up less of a resistance. There's a lot of companies out there that wouldn't mind being basically bought out, have a bunch of money, I guess go live on an island somewhere. It really seems like the founding family for Ubisoft wants to keep Ubisoft. I mean, we saw it at E3 where the developers, the creators of the games really seemed invested in what was going on. Really so much so that you could kind of feel the emotion really in that presentation. That's why so many people said that was the best presentation they've seen that really all of E3, because they genuinely seem to care. Now, with this last acquisition here by the Guillermo family for Ubisoft, that places really their percentage of shares, or at least ownership of shares, just over 15%, with their voting rights being just over 20%. And Vivendi, on the other side, though, still controls more with 27% of Ubisoft's share capital and 24.5% of voting rights. And really, I just look at this as really the family trying to, like I said, fend off Vivendi, hoping to make it so difficult for them that they'll just move on. And I would prefer that. We've seen Vivendi's not really that good at owning companies. Like, we saw what happened with Activision. That was a whole debacle. That was just bad. And again, Activision is taking their company back over. And at that point, the stock ends up taking off. So I don't really know what Vivendi's doing. I guess they're just looking to acquire another big company like a Ubisoft because, well, they have talented developers. I mean, they make games pretty consistently. And of course, Mario Rabbids ends up doing well from what we've seen. That might even be another driving force for the Guillermo family to keep putting money in to get a hold of this company and make sure it stays with them and doesn't go to really this outside company try to do a hostile takeover. When you see games like Mario and Rabbids come out of that, really that studio and that entire company, yeah, you probably want to hold on to them. And then, of course, they have a bunch of upcoming stuff as well. Assassin's Creed's coming out. And they had a bunch of stuff that they showed off, including Beyond Good and Evil, that I hope Vivendi doesn't take over that company, because that is a game I could see them possibly cutting out, just because when they come in, they'll want to cut costs big time. And that would be something that they would just say, it probably won't sell that well. Yeah, go ahead, cut it off. We'll keep doing Assassin's Creed and we'll keep doing Watch Dogs. No, none of this Beyond Good and Evil 2 stuff. Next up, Nintendo seemed to do this odd thing where they updated Mario's profile on the Nintendo of Japan website, And, well, they included an excerpt about Mario saying that he's not a plumber anymore, but he was at one point in time. And this seemed to catch the internet off guard a little bit. People were a little surprised. I think for a while now, we've all pretty much assumed, and that might even be our fault, we've pretty much assumed that Mario is still a plumber. I mean, you feel like, you know, we thought he was a plumber a while ago in, what, 1984, 1985. You feel like at this point, maybe he's spent enough time with toilets and plungers and, you know, snaking drains to kind of move on. Also, he seems very busy doing other things. So at this point, though, it looks like with the update that he would no longer be considered a plumber, even though he still go down tubes and everything. Anyway, his excerpt reads this: all around sporty, whether it's tennis or baseball, soccer or car racing, he, Mario, does everything cool. As a matter of fact, he also seems to have worked as a plumber a long time ago. It's kind of funny because, believe it or not, back in 1980, 1981, when Donkey Kong really first appeared on the scene in arcades, Mr. Miyamoto himself said that Mario was technically a carpenter at the time. Yeah, that's right. He wasn't even a plumber then. He was a carpenter. And, well, the whole thing, in his mind, took place on a construction site. And he was a carpenter working at the time on construction stuff. So there you go. He wasn't always a plumber in the first place. He's moved around to different jobs, from being a construction worker to, well, to being a plumber. And now he seems to be kind of, well, I guess somebody runs around with a hand cannon and Mario Rabbids now shooting and killing things. But that's a whole other thing. Yeah, it looks like Mario has officially moved on from being a plumber. I think most of us had already assumed that, but now it's in writing on Nintendo's website. Now let's move on to some odd things that are going on in the gaming world. One at least has an explanation, but the other one happened today, or at least yesterday, going into today, and there's no explanation so far at time of this recording. First, let's talk about Infinite Minigolf. I did do like a whole video on that with gameplay. It's kind of fun. It's a weird mini-golf inspired game where it has a ton of power-ups and you can get user-created levels, and it's set up as a wacky, it's definitely not a simulation golf game. It's set up like a wacky mini-golf style game, but it was actually pulled off of the Nintendo America's eShop. I believe it's still up in Europe and other places, in Japan's as well, but it was pulled off the American eShop, and apparently, according to ESRB and Nintendo and any other companies involved here, it looks like there was an issue with the rating system because, well, there is a suggestive poster in the bedroom level. Really, the poster it seems to just show some scantily clad women. It doesn't even seem like a big deal. It's something I didn't notice, and we played in that level quite a bit during our playthrough with Evan and I, so it's not really something that sticks out, but I guess if you pan the camera around, yeah, you can find this poster, and there you go, a demon, scantily clad women. Well, we gotta slap an E10 or a teen rating, or I guess get the poster out of there altogether. I don't know why you would do that. Just slap a teen rating on there. Who cares? E10 plus, I guess. Again, it's something that's kind of a blink and you'll miss it, or you really have to look around and find it kind of thing. It's a little odd to me, but I guess they have to take it seriously. Otherwise, you will probably see some other companies try to get away with stuff like this with hidden Easter eggs. You gotta be strict. I get it. According to them, they're going to get the rating all figured out, or they'll pull the poster. It'll just be right back up on the shop in a few days, according to them. So at least we have clarification, because it just randomly disappeared one day, and that was that. So I'm glad we at least know that it's coming back. Despite it not being the best game in the world, at least it's, I don't know, it's a mini golf game. You don't have a lot of those. The other game I'm talking about is Super Mario Run. It's apparently just completely disappeared off of Apple's App Store on their iPhones and iPad and everything. It's very odd to just randomly disappear for no reason that we can see, because last I checked, it was still on my Android device. I looked it up as soon as I saw the news, and yeah, it's still there. And you could check today, as of this recording, it's not at all on Apple's App Store right now, so it's just gone. Now, a lot of people are now speculating at this point that, well, because of what happened last year at Apple's big event where Miyamoto showed up on stage to introduce Super Mario Run, that maybe Nintendo has, well, another game in mind for next week's Apple event, that is September 12th. Maybe somebody like Reggie, or again, Miyamoto shows up and they have another game, whether it's a Mario, an Animal Crossing, something else in mind. So now people are getting pretty excited, because remember, it came to iPhones, for example, first, as opposed to Android devices. So this could be something where they're leaving it on Android devices, because again, it's going to be on Apple's devices first, and then it'll go to Android devices, so they don't want to pull it down from, well, all Android phones. But what's interesting here could also be something like maybe an expanded version of the game, and that's why they don't want to sell the old version, because they don't want to confuse people. Take the version down, put one version up, whether it's like a Game of the Year edition, I don't think they can call it Game of the Year, a definitive edition, or even just Super Mario Run 2 that includes all of the original levels. That's where we are now, though. So now, if we don't see it pop back up between now and the Apple's September 12th event, keep an eye on that event, because you may see someone from Nintendo popping up to introduce a new game. And in our last bit of news, I'm going to leave you with something really cool, something really neat to go watch. It was done by fans overall, and that was really fans, artists, animators, everyone coming together to pretty much reimagine and recreate an entire episode from the Super Mario cartoon. Now, this project is called the Mama Luigi Project overall. It's been going on for about a year now or so, maybe a little longer. It's brought together over 200 artists. They had to basically redo 255 scenes, and it's insane to watch. It's so cool because, one, I like these big collaborations where they go back and they take something they really like. This episode is the last episode in the Super Mario cartoon that only went on for a couple months. It wasn't around for long. I think there was 13 episodes total, and this was the last one that was actually kind of a prequel to the entire series. It was kind of odd. The last episode was a prequel of the whole thing. Very weird. But it's really cool to go back and watch this because the way they did it, every time it changed between different scenes that different artists did, it changed between like art style and animation style and everything. It's so interesting to watch. And really, go take a look because they put a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's so neat to see. I love when these kind of projects come together and they finish, especially if it's been going on for more than a year to get all this done and they pull, 200 people together to get it done. It's only like 12 minutes long, but it's amazing to watch. Go check it out. So neat. I'll leave the link in the description. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me think about the stuff we talked about today, whether it is the Mario cartoon that fans came together and put out. Just came out the other day, but it's so cool. Let me know what your thoughts on that, because I think these kind of things are just super neat. Also, let me know about the Ubisoft and the Vivendi, really the clashing there. Vivendi trying to take over, Ubisoft trying to fight back. Maybe you're a fan of Ubisoft's games and you don't want to see this happen, right? You don't want to see a company come in that could cancel your favorite series. Maybe you want to see Beyond Good and Evil 2 come out and you're worried that Vivendi would come in and just completely cut off that expense because they don't see it as a super profitable venture for them to really back when they own the Ubisoft. That's it for now, guys. I'll see you next time.